Buenas tardes. Para las personas que desean escuchar esta junta en español, tenemos un número al que desean llamar. El número es 346-248-7799. Una vez más, ese número a llamar es 346-248-7799 y van a ingresar el número de identificación 951-3765-3403. Una vez más, ese número de identificación es 951-3765-3403. Gracias.
Thank you. We will now take the roll. When your name is called, please state present. Director Baez.
Present.
Director Herndon.
Present.
Director Miller.
Present.
Director O'Halloran.
Present.
Director Peterson.
Present.
Director Phillips. Director Phillips. Director Phillips, I can see that you've unmuted your mic, but I can't hear you. We cannot hear you. Director Simpson.
Present.
Director Taylor.
In accordance.
Director Woodward.
Here.
Director Phillips. Director Phillips, there is a volume button and a mute option on the cord of your headset. Could you try to move that button up and down to see if we could get sound? Director Phillips has reconnected. I do see that in the broadcast. We're just waiting for sound, and I think we can hear. Director Phillips.
Present.
Thank you. We have 9 present. Now that the roll has been called, I ask members of the board to put your devices on mute and remain muted unless you are speaking. This will help to reduce digital interference and will help the staff and the listening audience keep track of who is speaking. Members are asked to adhere to Robert's Rules of Orders and to be polite. If more than one person attempts to speak at the same time, I will determine the speaking order based on the order in which the virtual platform identifies the member who is speaking. With that, as stated in the public notice of this meeting, in order to comply with the Safer at Home order issued by the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, I would ask for a motion to 1, waive Board Rule 1.02 Parent 4 in order to conduct this meeting virtually, and 2, waive paragraphs 3, Parent A, and paragraph 5, Parent D, and any other portions of Board Rule 1.06 which may restrict or prevent the board from convening a remote or virtual meeting under the present emergency circumstances, and in order to allow members of the board to participate remotely without a quorum of the board being physically present here at the Central Services Building.
So moved by Peterson.
And I believe Director Woodward
Then Peterson.
You would need to unmute your mic, Director Woodward.
It is.
So we have a motion by Director Peterson, seconded by Director Woodward. On the motion to waive the board rules 1.02, parent 4, and paragraphs 3A and 5D, and board rule 1.06. Motion to waive that rule by Director Peterson, seconded by Director Woodward. Director Baez.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director Miller.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Phillips.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
Director Woodward.
Aye.
That's 9 ayes. The motion passes. Pursuant to Board Rule 1.01 and in adherence to Robert's Rules of Order, the body must designate a temporary presiding officer to preside over the meeting until the election of a president. If there are no objections, the board will designate the board clerk to serve as the chair pro tem until the election of a president.
I would move that we would have the board clerk serve as the chair pro tem.
I second that.
I'll second. Director Carver.
Phillips, Baez, and Taylor. So we have a motion to allow the board clerk to serve as chair pro tem until the election of a president by Director Phillips, seconded by both Directors Baez and Taylor. On the motion as read, Director Baez.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director Miller.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Phillips.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
Director Woodward.
Aye.
That's 9 ayes. The motion passes. As previously noticed, in compliance with the Safer at Home order issued by the State Department of Health Services, this meeting is being conducted virtually. Board members are participating remotely, and we have limited the number of administrative staff in this meeting. It is unprecedented, but we are not allowing members of the public to be physically present in the Central Services building. However, in order to allow as much public participation as possible, in addition to our normal practice of broadcasting our meetings on radio station WYMS 88.9 FM and live streaming them on the MPS website, we are broadcasting this meeting on the MPS YouTube stream. That link can be found on the MPS website on the Boardcast page. On behalf of the board, I ask that members of our listening audience for your understanding and patience as the board strives to fulfill its legal and moral obligation to conduct its business in the most transparent manner possible under these unusual circumstances. The board will now recite the Pledge of Allegiance. While it is unusual that the collective voices of the board won't be heard during this recitation, I remind members that to avoid interference for the listening audience, members should mute your mics. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next order of business is the election of a president to serve for the ensuing year. As the roll is called, please indicate your selection for president. 5 votes are required for election. Director Baez.
I nominate Director Miller for the Ensuing Board year
Director Herndon.
as president.
Director Miller.
Director Peterson.
Director Miller.
Director Phillips.
Director Miller.
Director Simpson.
Director Miller.
Director Taylor.
Director Miller.
Director Woodward. Director Woodward.
Yes, you didn't hear me?
No, ma'am. Your mic may have been muted.
Well, it's not. Well, let's see if it's here. Okay.
I can hear you now, Director Woodward. We are calling the roll for an election of board president. At this time,
Director Taylor. Director Taylor.
Okay. Director Miller, having received a majority of the votes, the pro tem declares Director Miller president of the board for the ensuing year.
Thank you. Thank you, Secretary Mann. I just want to thank people, though. I really thank the board members for confidence in me. I'm going to work tirelessly to advance this board's work over the next year to support our children. But I also want to, for the board, thank all of you on this board that supported and worked for the referendum. I want to thank Bob Peterson for bringing the idea to us. I want to thank the Milwaukee organizations that supported us, like LITS and Block. I want to thank the task force members, the MTA, the NEA, and the many volunteers that supported the referendum. And I especially want to thank Dr. Posley, who fought tirelessly for our kids to get this referendum passed. So I think we should all congratulate ourselves and the communities of Milwaukee. So thank you. Madam Secretary, next order of business.
The next order of business is the election of a vice president to serve for the ensuing year. As I call the roll, please indicate your selection for vice president. 5 votes are required for election. Director Baez. Thank you. Director Baez.
I nominate myself for vice president of the board.
Director Herndon.
Dr. Baez.
Director Miller.
Director Baez.
Director O'Halloran.
Director Baez.
Director Peterson.
Director Baez.
Director Phillips.
Director Baez.
Director Simpson. Director Simpson. I don't see Director Simpson's picture anymore. Director Taylor.
Director Baez.
Director Woodward.
Director Baez.
Director Simpson. President Miller, members of the board, we may need to pause for a brief moment to allow Director Simpson to reboot her computer or to restart with the link to the meeting.
Thank you. I'll go on mute.
Okay, it looks like Director Simpson has logged out and is logging back in at the moment. Hi, Director Simpson.
Hi, back. Director Baez.
Thank you. Director Baez, having received the majority of the votes, will serve as the Vice President for the ensuing board year.
Would you like to make comments, Director Baez?
Yes, thank you, Director Miller, President Miller, I'm sorry. Yes, I really appreciate very much the confidence of the board and this nomination, and I will do everything as possible to ensure that I carry forth the interests and the concerns of the board at this very difficult time. To be Vice President is an important role, and to give continuity to it for another year is something that I think is important. No Vice President or President can really complete the totality of his work in just 1 year. So thank you so much for the confidence, and I will continue to work with all of you.
Thank you, Director Baez. Vice President Baez. The next order of business is a designation of the board clerk. Wisconsin Statute Section 119.10 requires that the board annually designate a board clerk. On April 1st, 2019, the board designated Dr. Jacqueline Mann as board clerk to serve for 2 years. If there is no objection, Dr. Mann will continue to serve as the board clerk. Not seeing any objections, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Chair, as there was no objection, you do not need to call the roll, but if there is a motion. Oh, okay. If there is a motion, okay.
According to Robert's rules, there is no need for a motion. Okay, at this time, it is necessary to appoint board members to various boards and committees on which the Milwaukee School of Board Directors is represented. The first appointment is to the Library Board under Wisconsin Statute 43.541. The president is an ex officio member of the board. However, if I elect not to serve, Board 1.177 provides the board shall elect a member to serve at its next regular meeting. I am willing to do this, but if there was someone that really wants to be on the library board, which is a big deal in this city. It's a very popular place. It's respected and observed by many people. I don't know if anybody's interested in actually playing that role. I would be willing to make that recommendation. Not seeing any, I will serve on it.
So noted.
The next thank you. The next appointment is to CISA 1, Wisconsin Statute Section 116.021A provides that annually on or after the 4th Monday in April, the school board of each district in the agency shall appoint one of its members as its representative for the purpose of determining the composition of the board of control. The liaison to CISA 1 for the 2019 board year was Director Herndon. Does any board member wish to volunteer to be the delegate to CISA number 1 for the 2020-21 board year? Director Herndon, are you willing to continue?
Yes, Mr. President, I'm willing to continue.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Director Herndon.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Yes.
I just was wondering if you could remind people to mute their microphones because there's been some back noise that makes it hard for me to hear.
Okay, please.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
the board does need to take action on this item, and it looks like you have made the motion, and is that a second by Director Herndon?
Yes.
On President Miller's motion for Director Herndon to serve on the CISA 1 Board of Control, seconded by Director Herndon. Vice President Baez.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Phillips.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
Director Woodward.
Aye.
President Miller.
Aye.
That's 9 ayes. The motion passes.
The next appointment is a continuation of the board's delegate to the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, WASB. At its regular meeting on November 30th, 2017, the board elected Director Tony Baez as the delegate for WASB Region 14 for the ensuing 3-year term. As this is a 3-year term, Director Baez will continue as the board's delegate to WASB until WASB gives notice of an upcoming election. We do not need to take action. Okay,
That is
so
correct.
noted. The next appointment is the Milwaukee Education Partnership, MEP. The Milwaukee Board of School Directors is an executive partner of the Milwaukee Education Partnership, a PK-16 Council of Education, Labor, Business, Government, University Foundation, Parent, and Community Groups. The executive partners provide the ongoing direction and overarching goals and objectives for the work of the partnership. The president of the board is the board's ex officio delegate to the partnership. However, if the president chooses not to serve, the board may select a representative for 2020-21 board year. I do wish to participate on this.
So noted.
Okay. We do not need to take action.
We do need to take action on this item. So,
Okay.
so you've made a motion, okay? And do we have a second?
Second. Bob.
On President Miller's motion for the president to serve as the board's representative to the Milwaukee Education Partnership, seconded by Director Peterson. Vice President Baez.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Phillips.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
Director Woodward.
Aye.
President Miller.
Aye.
That's 9 ayes. The motion passes.
The next appointment is to the MPS Head Start Policy Council. The liaison to the MPS Head Start Policy Council for the 2019-20 board year was Director Simpson. Does Director Simpson or any board member wish to volunteer to be the delegate to the MPS Head Start Policy Council for the upcoming 2020-21 board year?
I would be happy to continue in that role unless there's an objection.
There's not going to be an objection. I make a move that we accept Director Simpson. Make a motion.
And
Second.
Second, Director Herndon.
And Director Herndon seconded. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On President Miller's motion for Director Simpson to continue to serve as the MPS Head Start Policy Council representative, seconded by Director Herndon. Vice President Baez.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Phillips.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
Director Woodward.
Aye.
President Miller.
Aye.
That's 9 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you. The next appointment is to Milwaukee City Council of PTAs, PTSAs. The liaison to the Milwaukee Council of PTAs, PTSAs for the 2019-20 board year was Director Halloran. Does Director Halloran or any board members wish to volunteer to be the liaison of the Milwaukee City Council of PTAs, PTSAs for the 2020-21 board year?
I'll continue.
Great. Is that a motion, Director O'Halloran?
I so move in case.
I second.
I second.
Yes. We have a motion with a second. Dr. Mann.
The motion by Director Baez for Director O'Halloran to continue to serve as the board's liaison to the Milwaukee City Council of PTAs and PTSAs, seconded by President Miller and Director Taylor. Vice President Baez.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Phillips.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
Director Woodward.
Aye.
And President Miller.
Aye.
That's 9 ayes. The motion passes.
The next appointment is to the Title I District Advisory Council. The liaison to the Title I Advisory Council for the 2019-20 board year was Director Phillips. Does Director Phillips or any board members wish to volunteer for the liaison for the 2020-21 board year?
I nominate Director Phillips.
I second that.
Thank you,
Phillips,
Vice
do you
President
accept?
Baez and President Miller. Happy to accept unless somebody else wanted to serve in this capacity.
All right. Not seeing any or hearing any other comments, please call the roll, Madam Secretary.
On Vice President Baez's motion for Director Phillips to serve as the District 1 District Advisory Council, the district's Title I Advisory Council, seconded by President Miller. Vice President Baez.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Phillips.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
Director Woodward.
Aye.
President Miller.
Aye.
Now, get it over with.
That's 9 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you, Secretary Matt. Just a point for the board is that there are other councils and committees that board members have expressed to ask for special reports to the board meetings, and we'll be taking those up and asking for representatives to those probably in next month's cycle. Just an example is the Community Schools Leadership Council. They've asked for board representation and would like reports to come back directly to the board. So I have told people that if I was board president that I would continue, that I would proceed with that, and I've spoken with Dr. Mann about that. Madam Secretary, are there any regular items of business?
Yes, Mr. President, we do have 2 regular items of business. Item 1 is the annual review of and action on board compensation. At its meeting on November 28th of 2000, the board set salaries of $18,121 per year for board members and $18,667 per year for the board president. The board's action on November 28th of 2000 also contained a provision that the board's compensation be reviewed annually at its organizational meeting. The compensation currently remains at the level set by the board on November 28th of 2000. The recommendation is that the board determine how it wishes to proceed with this item.
What is the pleasure of the board in regard to this item?
Director Phillips?
Thank you, President Miller. I have a question for administration. Do we anticipate that there will be any sort of salary cuts or anything around the rest of the district? Because I wouldn't feel comfortable for the board not to have a cut if that's something that we see happening for the rest of the district.
President Miller, members of the board, we are not looking at any cuts to salaries at all.
Thank you, Dr. Posa. Any follow-up, Director Phillips?
No follow-up. Thank you.
Okay.
Director Peterson is in the queue.
I would like to move that we keep the salary compensation for the board the same as it was last year for the last 20 years.
I would like to second that.
And a motion by Director Peterson and a second by Director Byers.
On Director Peterson's motion to keep board salaries at the rate that was set in on November 28th of 2000.
Are there any any discussion at all? All right, please call the roll.
Seconded by Vice President Baez. Vice President Baez.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Phillips.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
Director Woodward.
Aye.
President Miller.
Aye.
That's 9 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, what is the next regular item of business?
The next item is the tentative calendars of the meeting of the board and its committees for the 2020-21 board year, which is included in the attachments to this item. The calendars have been prepared in accordance with Wisconsin Statutes Section 119.10 and Board Rules 1.01, 1.02, and 2.02. The recommendation is that the board determine how it wishes to proceed with respect to this item.
What's the pleasure of the board in regard to this?
You have Director Phillips and then Director Simpson in the queue.
Okay, Director Phillips?
Thank you, President Miller. I just had a question to the board. Right now, in the proposed calendar in December, the first Thursday, we have a scheduled committee, and that's typically when the DAC meets in the auditorium. And while we can meet in the cafeteria, it's very difficult because there are pillars and you can't always see people. So I would bring to the board if it's possible to continually have the first Thursday be available for the DAC in the auditorium.
Any discussion from board members? I support that, Director Phillips. And can we just propose that be part of the budget, Director Mann? I mean, part of the calendar, excuse me.
Mr. President, members of the board, if Director Phillips is making a motion that no board meetings be held the first Thursday of any month, we can definitely move forward in having the board to take action on that.
Yes, that would be my motion. And as it stands, the presented calendar, there's only one date, and that would be in December right now. So.
Okay, so Director Phillips, President Miller, President Miller.
I just want to, I'm assuming that we don't have to have a special vote on this. We could just, this would be part of the general vote on the calendar. Am I correct?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, at this point, with the review of the calendar and only having one meeting the first Thursday within the next board year, Director Phillips could move to change the date of that very first meeting. And that date can be determined at a later date, or it can be determined tonight.
Well, I second
so the motion. Okay, so the motion before you right now, well, the action that we're looking at the board taking right now is to move the meeting that is scheduled for the first Thursday in December. Is there a suggestion of another date? The meeting that is scheduled that first Thursday in December would be the PACE meeting.
Director Mann, I would suggest that it be Tuesday, December 15th. So then we're still having all of our meetings prior to the winter holiday.
Mr. Chair, members of the body, in looking at the calendar, is it possible to have the PACE meeting immediately preceding the SASE meeting, maybe scheduling the PACE meeting for 4 p.m. instead of 5 on the 8th? Because when meetings are scheduled, when committee meetings are scheduled within the same week as the full board meeting, the board does not actually get a chance to review the report of the committee meeting. And it causes the board to take 2 special actions in order to accept the report and to have that report added to the full board meeting the night of the meeting. So typically the only meeting that's held the week of the full board meeting is the full board meeting, the regular board meeting. So we do have other dates the board can certainly hold. In this situation, the PACE meeting either right before or after the SASE committee meeting, or right before or after the AFP meeting as well. So that would be the 8th or the 10th, given that December is a short month.
Could also be on the 1st, Tuesday.
Board President.
It could also be on the 1st. It could also be on December 1st.
Director Taylor. Oh no,
thank you,
wait, did Director Simpson have a, was she in the queue? Okay, and then I'll call you Director Taylor. Go ahead, Director Simpson.
Director Simpson, your mic is muted. That's okay.
Okay, sorry about that. So I appreciate moving the time of our committee meetings up to 5 o'clock. I think that is great for public testimony and for students. However, I know this is very selfish on my end. It would be very, very challenging for me to be there at 5. I was wondering if 5:30 was an acceptable time.
So we, Mr. Chair, members of the board, we have 2 things. It looks like we would be moving the PACE meeting from Thursday, December 3rd to Tuesday, December 1st, and then taking a look at all committee meetings beginning at 5:30. So those are 2 adjustments to the calendar that you have in front of you. Are there any objections to those 2 changes? Any conversation?
Madam Chair, this is Director Herndon.
Director Herndon?
I have
any questions about those 2 changes, and then I'll call you Director Taylor.
Yes, my question was in relation to putting this meeting prior to the AFP, and that could be a problem because AFP tends to be longer and in many cases have a lot of speakers. I just wanted to put that forth. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Question?
Go ahead.
Members of the board? Members of the board, right now, the PACE committee meeting is scheduled to move from Thursday, December 3rd to Tuesday, December 1st. So we would not have any stacked meetings in December.
All right, Director Herndon?
Yes,
right,
that's
Director
fine.
Taylor.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Director Taylor.
Thank you, President Miller. I guess I was just trying to understand and clarify, were we asking to have the meeting at 4 p.m. or were we asking to have it at 5:30? somewhere in between a couple of comments. I just wanted to make sure I'm understanding right. In reference to moving the PACE meeting right before SASE, if I'm saying it right, was the time frame going to be 4 p.m. or 5:30 that we were looking at?
Mr. Chair.
Clarity question.
Madam Secretary, clarify that if you would, please.
Members of the board, the only two changes that we are looking at making to the ensuing year's calendar are to, one, move the PACE meeting that is currently slated for 5 p.m. on Thursday, December 3rd. We will be moving that meeting to Tuesday, December 1st, and with Director Simpson's request, all of the committee meetings would begin at 5:30 p.m.
Instead of 6:30, is that what?
Instead of 6:30.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Was there anyone else in the queue, Madam Clerk? No one else in the queue?
It was Directors Taylor, Phillips, and then Baez.
Oh, Director Baez, go ahead.
Yes, I was just about to make a motion.
I'm sorry,
I
Mr.
will-
Chair,
Director
members of the board. I believe it is Director Phillips was in the queue as well.
I had asked to speak.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, who was first, Director Phillips or Director Baez?
Director Phillips was
Director
before Director Baez.
Okay, Director
So
Phillips?
thank you. I'll defer to Vice President Baez because my question was resolved by Director Simpson's comments about moving it to 5:30. Thank you.
Director Baez?
I was just going to follow up on that. It seems to me that then if we need a motion, I would be happy to make a motion to move the PACE meeting to Tuesday, December 1st, and that all committee meetings start at 5:30 p.m.
Could you add to that adoption of the calendar?
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Oh, is there a second?
Director Herndon.
Director Herndon, seconded. Any other comments or questions? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Vice President Baez's motion for adoption of the calendar with two changes. One change would be moving the PACE meeting currently scheduled for Thursday, December 3rd to Tuesday, December 1st, and to begin the committee meetings starting at 5:30 p.m. On the motion as read, Vice President Baez.
Excuse me, and approval of the whole calendar.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Members of the board, the motion before you is adoption of the calendar, the entire calendar for the ensuing board year that is attached to this item tonight, with the two changes of moving the PACE meeting from Thursday, December 3rd to Tuesday, December 1st, and to begin committee meetings at 5:30 p.m.
All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On the motion as read, Vice President Baez.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Phillips.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
Director Woodward.
Aye.
President Miller.
Aye.
That's 9 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, is there any unfinished business?
Yes, Mr. President, we do have one item of unfinished business. Item 1 is action on the disposition of unfinished business pending before the board and its committees at the close of business on April 23rd of 2020. The attachment to this item includes a list of unfinished business pending before the board and its standing committees and special committees. This list is presented pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Section 119.10, Parent 1, which reads in part, at its annual meeting after the election of the board president, the clerk of the board shall report to the board items of business pending before the board.
The chair suggests that we deal with this in the same manner in which we deal with committee reports. Board members can ask for a separate consideration of items that they want to refer to committee, and then we can place the balance of items on file. Do board members, and we do not take a vote on this. Any board member can ask for something to be advanced, and it will be advanced. It just takes one board member's request. Do board members need to take a few minutes to review this list?
I would like a few minutes, please, this Director Taylor.
Okay. Madam Secretary, if we could just have a 5-minute break to do this.
Mr. Chair, we will keep you on. We will keep you on air, and if everyone could mute their mics and take the time needed to review, and then we could check in with board members to see if we are ready to proceed. President Miller? I want to be sure that board members have had an adequate time to review the items. President Miller, to ensure that we do not have a lengthy level of silence on the air, to ensure that we can stay on the air and not be dropped off. Board members who do have items set aside could ask either in the chat or ask to be recognized to give us an indication of any items that they would like to set aside.
So we should just go ahead and give the numbers that we want to set aside at this time. Is that my understanding?
That is correct.
Okay, board members? All right, Director
It looks like
Director Herndon.
Yes, I would like to have items 2, 3, and 11 carried into the next school year.
Okay. Director Herndon?
Yes. Item number 9, on the proposal for a policy on arts education. It's my understanding the policy has been completed, and I previously was waiting for tonight to ask that be put on the LRP meeting so that we get that through and on the budget when we start working on the budget. That is the expectation.
President Miller,
Okay,
you have Director Woodward in the queue.
Director Woodward?
Yes, item 10, I would like carried over to the next, carried over. Item 10,
Okay. Other board members? Director Baez?
Yes, I would like item number 8 to be carried into the next year. And Director Miller, I think both you and I supported item 1, and I would like
Correct.
this matter to be continued if possible.
All right. Other board members? Other board members? I would like, Madam Secretary, number 4, number 6. So my understanding is all but 5 and 7 are being transferred, are being moved over.
I would like number 7, Director Taylor.
Okay, number 7. So at this time, all
And
but
number 5 as well.
Okay.
And number 5
that
as
would be
well.
all of. Okay, thank you. That is all of the items.
So noted.
Okay. Madam Secretary, are there any items of new business, any communications or petitions or any other resolutions to refer to committee?
Mr. President, we do have one item of new business for referral this month, and that is action on a request to amend Board Rule 1.05, public notice, and 1.06, quorum and meeting presence, and to create Board Rule 1.30 on virtual meetings.
That will be referred to the Committee of Legislation, Rules, and Policy. Madam Secretary, is there any further business on our agenda?
Mr. President, that was the last item of business on tonight's agenda.
There being no further business before the board, this meeting is adjourned. And again, I want to thank board governance. I want to thank our technology folks and everybody and all board members on this. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank
Good night,
you.
all.